the way I operate.
Your son said anybody that wasn't Aryan was mud.
Well, in the broadest sense of the word.
And you agree with what he said?
Well, the Bible says we come from the mud and the dirt of the ground. What's the problem?
Was that what you mean?
Is that an insult?
Now, you tell these young people here who are listening to this tape, after describing of how Miski, who won a fight, but yet he ended up getting life for killing a mud person, you said, never forgive, don't get mad, just get even. Now, what are you telling these young people here that listen to this tape?
Not to have confidence in the government anymore as it has applied to young white people. I truly believe that Ken Miski, Kyle Brewster, and Mr. Strasser were given a raw deal and legally hung in the state of Portland or in the state of Oregon by a political establishment in Portland. And they never had their chance in court.
Yes.
And that's what I honestly believe. He may have overreacted, but it was a fight. It got out of hand, and the people of Portland hung him.
Yes.
And the federal government did too.
Yes.
And if they'd have been black, it never would have happened.
Mr. Metzger, there's no doubt in your mind, is it, that Dave Mazzella was your agent, sent up here as vice president of the youth section of your organization to organize in this town?
I don't send anybody anyplace. He said he came here of his own choice. He was on the board yesterday. I don't have the authority, the power, the money, or to tell anybody to go anyplace. Because if I tried to, they'd tell me where to go.
Mr. Metzger, haven't you made a $10 million claim against the city of Portland, claiming that Mr. Mazzella was their agent during the time of this murder?
I did, yes.
Let me show you what I bought as Plaintiff's Exhibit 18. Is this a copy, Plaintiff's Exhibit 18, of the claim that you've made of $10 million against the city of Portland?
Yes, it is.
This claim is signed by who?
Should have been signed by me, yes.
And who
John.
else? You and John?
Yeah.
Now, you understand that agent provocateur means that somebody provokes somebody into killing somebody. Is that correct? Or
provoking someone to provoke somebody else.
All right. So are you saying to the jury here that Mazzella is not your agent, but he's the city of Portland's agent, and as their agent, he provoked Miski and Brewster to kill this man? Is that what you're saying?
I said I believe that.
You believe that?
I said I believe that is possibly true.
All right. So now we get into it. You're not questioning whether Mazzella provoked him to kill him. You just said he did it as an agent of the city of Portland. Is that correct?
I said I believe.
You believe it?
That may be possible, and we're going to see about it as the time rolls on. Another civil trial, Mr. Dees.
Mr. Metzger, did you make a request for people to leave money in their will and to leave real estate to war?
A couple of times I did. Nobody responded, so we quit doing it.
Well, how did you decide that? Did you have a little will form in there that says leave money to Tom Metzger? How'd you write that up?
I don't know exactly. I took it from another publication of another movement publication, Liberty Bell Publications.
Well, didn't you write leave money to Tom Metzger, trustee for war?
Yes, because I didn't want to mislead people.
Didn't want to mislead them. So you said trustee for war, right?
Well, I'd copied that out of another magazine.
Well, is war a non-profit organization?
No.
Is it a personal and private business of Tom Metzger?
Well, it's kept under one tax number, and we're not going to file for tax exemption because we wouldn't get it.
Well, in your deposition, didn't I ask you the question, just tell me what kind of organization this is, and you said war is a personal, private business of Tom Metzger.
That's the way it's registered with the state of California under the various White Point Publishing and Fallbrook TV.
I guess I got to get an answer for you from you if you could.
Okay.
Is war a personal, for-profit business of Tom Metzger?
Yes.
That's fine. Thank you.
Trouble is, we don't make much profit.
Here's another copy of your publication, volume 8, number 4, which you showed to Mr. Zella and asked him if anything in it would encourage violence on the part of a skinhead, along with all the other things you do. I don't know if he had an answer or not.
He said he hadn't read it. He
hadn't read it. Now, if you would, look on the inside of this on page 4, and if you would, just explain to the jury what that's a diagram of, a drawing of.
This is a cartoon about a black man who's probably a criminal, giving some trouble to a white guy coming down the street. And in this cartoon by A. Wyattman, well, the black guy says, well, look at this shit, a motherfucking skinhead. Look here, boy, I got something you can skin. Why don't you skin my motherfucking ass?
And then what happens in the next?
So as you wish, melon breath, and he does.
He kills him, right?
He skinned him.
Skins him with a knife?
That's it.
Metzger, in addition to these drawings that depict violence towards black people, brown people, the mud people,
Or even government officials.
Yes, sir. Do you also include in your educational material drawings that demean black people, make them less than human or subhuman?
That's subjective, what subhuman is.
Well, do you have drawings in there that go to these skinheads that depict the black person as less intelligent, for example, or being basically criminals or baboons?
Yeah, certain black people, yes. Not the entire race.
Just certain black people.
Well, I can take you out here in Portland and find you some people that act just like that, look just like that.
Let me show you a blow-up of that, because it might be easier for you to read.
Okay.
See that?
Yeah.
You're on our offer plans for Exhibit 62.
No objection. No objection.
Now, you hold this up in front of the jury, and I'd like you to read that into the record, what that says. Hold up so the jury can see it.
Okay.
Just read that to the jury.
Coon, black baboon, brutal, worthless, thieving goon. Often high, thrives in jail, his welfare check is in the mail. Some 40 offspring have been had, not one will ever call him dad. And yet he hollers day and night, I blames the white man for my plight. It's him spreads trash all around my shack, it's him what makes me smoke this crack. He pushed my kind to burn and loot, and sends the police that we shoot. But inch by inch, we've taken hold, like when the white bread starts to mold. We'll overrun your homes and soon, they be only fit for a black ass coon.
But down at the bottom it says, unless you take action to prevent this right now. You say that? Look at the bottom of it right here. Just read that to the jury.
Unless you take steps to prevent it right now, wake up America. Which means that that type of Negro may be taking over your neighborhood, going to rape your wife and kids and loot your house.
Is that kind of like Mr. Sarah?
Doesn't mean every black. Has nothing to do with Mr. Sarah.
Let's look on page 2 of that same publication. We're talking about doing things that demean and dehumanize black people. Is this claims the exhibit 56?
Some black people.
Some black people. And we'll ask you to distinguish them in a moment.
The black people I know don't think they fit in that.
Is that correct?
That's true.
Well, let's look at this drawing. And is this a copy claims the exhibit 64?
Yes.
You're on office 64 in evidence. No objection.
No objection.
Receipt.
Would you hold this up there and you just read to the jury how you describe this black person's head that's dissected and showing his brain?
I don't describe anybody. I didn't write to make the cartoon.
Yes, sir, but you published it, didn't you?
Well, that obviously makes me guilty.
And this stuff is consistently published and distributed by you, is it not, sir?
Cartoons are consistently published by me.
You call it a cartoon? Do you think this is funny?
That is funny.
Just read the copy into the record.
That particular black man, yes.
Yes, sir.
Let's answer the scientific question. What's on a nigger's mind? They got up there, crave for watermelon, crave for drugs, alcohol, pussy, gold chains, and drum beats. And then they have a section for criminal behavior.
Now that takes up most of the brain area, doesn't it?
Just like in this town, 50% of the crime, yes.
And I read on the rest of the things that take up a small part of the brain, like
Responsibility, vocal skills, intelligence, hygiene, creative skills, must be viewed through a microscope, logic, and proportion. And like I say, I could take you within a mile of here and show you someone who acts just like this that happens to be black.
yes. You know any white people that might fit that same category?
Sure.
Did you put any of those in your publication?
Well, I've attacked white people quite a bit. In fact, some of my worst enemies are white people,
Yes.
like you.
We have an exhibit, Plans Exhibit 146. May I show it to the witness, Your Honor?
Right.
This was an exhibit that was a letter to you, and you produced this, so I assume you must have received it. And we marked it, though. And that's a letter to you from Mr. Mazzella. Read the first line to the jury.
It was good to talk to you.
Well, did you go visit him in person?
I don't think so.
So how did he talk to you?
I don't remember. If it was
Sir?
telephone, who cares? I don't care. Somebody called me. If he called me, I talked to him. I just don't remember it.
So you could have continued your telephone relationship with him even after he left Portland, based on the fact that you produced a letter, and the first sentence says, "Thank you for calling him."
Well, it wouldn't be the first person that I wasn't entirely happy with that called me on the telephone.
And then he wrote you this long letter about how he intended to go back to Portland and organize for war, didn't he?
Upper middle class kids and adults and some skins.
And some skinheads. He wrote you that back, didn't
Well, he wrote it, but he wasn't going to go back for us.
he? You had already found out that he snitched up there, didn't you?
I just found out he was unreliable.
Unreliable because you found
Same
out,
way-
you
same
found
way
out
you'll
and told
find
the
out.
police what happened, didn't you?
Same way you'll find out he's unreliable. Sorry, Your Honor.
Your Honor, move to strike this question, admonish the jury and the witness, and instruct the jury, please.
The last response will be stricken. The jury will disregard it.
Tom Metzger, as his own attorney, interrogates himself.
Mr. Metzger, do you teach skinheads or anyone else to kill or hurt people? No. Never have. Mr. Metzger, are your primary weapons ideas, newspapers, and television production? Yes. That's all I've ever used. The art of changing people's minds and putting ideas in their head through legitimate means, television, newspapers, telephone machines, fax machines, any legal way that anyone else does the same thing. Mr. Metzger, the plaintiffs yesterday went through very selectively many items in cartoons in your newspaper. Do you believe everything you have published is protected by the First Amendment? Yes, I do, or I wouldn't be publishing it. And I don't ask the government what I'll print. Never have, never will. I don't ask the people down the block either. I'll print what I choose to print. Obviously, we wrote many, many articles on many, many things about the draft, about ecology, about intervention in Central America, on all kinds of subjects. So there's obviously, this is a very selected group of things that were chosen by the plaintiffs. Mr. Metzger, I'm through with you.
John Metzger.
Good morning. Mr. Metzger, Dad, have you ever attacked anyone because of their political beliefs or the color of their skin, physically?
No association or anything I've ever belonged to ever tried to stop other people's freedom of speech by attacking them or the meeting place. It would have been very easy on many occasions to attack leftist group meetings and so forth that in some things we didn't agree with. There's meetings going all the time, and it'd be very easy to attack them. I've never done that. I've never been accused